concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, you guys? Welcome to Livestream. Pow. Here we are. It is time. It's Sunday afternoon. You ready? I was just checking out this Rotor Riot shirt I got sent. Can you see the glitter? I don't know if you can see the glitter. It's crazy. Thank you, Rotor Riot. Now my desk looks messy. You can still see it. Crap. All right. It's fine. Okay. Now we're ready to stream. Welcome to the live stream. All right, all right, all right. License to drive. Thank you so much for coming out. License to drive. All right, all right. All right. It's, everybody's got a Matthew McConaughey now. Everybody's got a Matthew McConaughey now. Fine V wants to know what my keyboard is. It's a Ducky. It's a Ducky. Everybody wants to know what my keyboard is. Ducky 1S with Cherry MX Browns. Oh, no, I've pressed a button by accident. Cherry MX Browns. That's what you're here for, folks, is you're here to hear about my keyboard and my t-shirt and my Matthew McConaughey impression. I don't have a Matthew McConaughey impression. It's a cheap impression, isn't it? It's a cheap impression. I mean, if you're going to do a Matthew McConaughey impression, then do one. But if all you're going to do is just go, all right, all right, all right. That's not a Matthew McConaughey impression. That's like doing an impression of one line of a Matthew McConaughey. It's a... Jury FPV. I mean, aren't Cherry switches the premium switches for keyboards? Brandon RC, you are correct that Cherry Blues are the best. Blues are the best. I had a keyboard with blues, and do you know why I stopped? This is why. That's why. Because did you hear that? Did you hear how that wasn't like... Yeah. I cannot live stream with blues. You can't. I seriously, and I'm not joking, I seriously considered buying 2 keyboards, one with blues for when I was normally working and one with browns for when I was live streaming, but I thought that that would probably be overkill. Blues are the best. Oh, I did have blues. Yeah. Nick Hayes, I'm not going to do the whole rant about how sad I am to have ended up on browns. We're not going to do that old number. That's my free bird. Hey Bardwell. Hey Bardwell. Play the one about how you tried a bunch of different keyboard switches and ended up on browns. Oh, it's a classic. It's a classic. Oh. Hey Bardwell. Do the one about why you stopped making your motor with Get FPV and you just decided to buy somebody else's motor. Oh yeah, we've heard this one before. Yeah. Classic. Durzo FPV says, I hear your keyboard either way, so what does it matter? Trust, I mean, have you heard blues? Trust me. Anyway. I'm happy with my browns. It's a great keyboard, though. It's a great keyboard. Welcome to live stream, everybody. This is where you'll get all of your questions about FPV answered. All your questions about FPV answered. Here we are. My keyboard is a mechanical keyboard, Bannister. Browns are mechanical key switches. I better be mechanical. I paid like $100 for it. I'm going to be answering your questions here. Here, coming in hot. I tried silvers. I tried whites. I tried like... Oh, no, you're not going to trick me into doing it. I'm not doing the bit. You guys have heard the bit. Nick Hayes. Go ahead and ask your questions here in the chat. As long as your questions don't have anything to do with the Rotor Risco and inverted pitch can both go die in a fire. Unless you want to hit that $sign right here. Hit the $sign if you want to hear me talk about the Rotor Risco, because that's the only way I'll talk about the Rotor Risco, except I've just been talking about it for like 30 seconds. Ha ha! Hit the $sign if you want to send a couple bucks my way. Throw a few dollars. Toss a coin to your Witcher. Is basically what's going on there. Thank you, GMI Visuals. I'll get to you in just a second. And, oh, by the way, these beautiful people over here we need to say hello to. Hi, Mr. Stubbs, Mad Fiction, Bannister Post, all these beautiful people. This is my Discord server. And these beautiful people are my patrons. And they're the kind of people who, you know, like, we'll be right back, patrons. Say all your hellos. They're the kind of people, you know, like if you leave a super chat, that's like you walked by a busker on the subway and he was playing a song and you were like, oh, that's a good song. Throw him a couple bucks. But a patron is like you do that every day or every month. Yep. For as little as $2 a month or more. If you feel like I've earned it, you can join these beautiful people here in the Discord server and, you know, help me pay my bills every month. It's very good. Oh yeah. Look at that setup. Wow. Oh, hang on. That's a good setup right there. That's a workbench, my friend. I've thought about doing the vertical monitor thing, but I never end up liking it. What can I say? Beverage of choice for the stream is nothing. I forgot to go get a beverage. And now I'm screwed. So... that's where we're going to end up. What's a Rotor Risco? Johnny DRC, don't worry. It's nothing. It is nothing. It's not a thing. It will be a thing eventually if people keep making a big deal out of it. But Callie FPV says, my Discord chat would probably look better vertical. Callie, you're right. But the thing is that, like, for every one thing that looks better vertical... there's too many things. Like, a lot of what I do is I watch like YouTube videos, and so there are specific cases where a vertical screen would be nice, but for the most part, horizontal is better for me. And I'll just split it side by side, and it works pretty good. So, all right. But that's not why you're here. We're here to talk about FPV and take your questions about FPV. And we'll start with this question from Durzo FPV. Thank you for $5 in the super chat. Durzo, getting us started off strong. What do you think? Motor 2 and 4 spin the same direction. Motor 1 and 3 the opposite direction. I think you should go into BL Heli and make whichever motor spin the right direction. I don't know. Like, what direction are they supposed to spin? Just whatever direction they're supposed to spin in the Betaflight Motors tab, go into BL Heli and make them spin that direction. I don't know. Ed K says, get a monitor stand that rotates and you can switch back and forth as needed. Ed, hang on, Ed. Here's the thing. I have these guys positioned like not quite to the millimeter, but like I hate it when the angle and the position and the tilt of the monitor is not exactly... See, look, no, oh, it's too flat now. I need it tilted back just a little more. I hate it when my monitors move. I really do. See, this one's a little too low. It's slightly lower than the others, and this one is crooked. Hang on. There we go. So I will not be switching my monitors back and forth. Oh. Risky. There we go. I will not be switching my monitors back and forth between. I don't want them to ever move. See, oh, there we go. Perfect. Oh, the tops. See, now the tops are lined up correctly. Okay. The ESC's turned 45 degrees. Mike Bergman, thank you. No, I know, Mike. I'm a little unclear on what Durzo is asking, and I'm just trying to answer the question. You need the motors to spin the direction that Betaflight wants them to spin. You go into BL Heli, and away you go. If you wire, Bushizi in the Discord says if you wire the motors completely the same on all the motors, 2 will be the opposite direction. That's not my experience. Every time I install motors and I solder the motors up exactly the same, like with the wires straight through, then all the motors spin the same direction, which is what you would expect, and you have to reverse 2 of them. But the bottom line is this. After you solder up the motors, spin the motors, and then identify the motors that spin the wrong way, and then reverse them so they spin the right way. Yeah. Yeah, the best way to do this, if I really wanted a vertical monitor, would be to get a 4th monitor, and put it like right up here, vertically between my lights. And I'd be like this. Nah, it's not. It's too much. It's too much. Airsure says, any word when the FPV cycle motors will be back in stock? Yes. Kebab said that the shipment is held in customs. He was expecting to have it today, but the customs was delayed. He now expects it to be Tuesday, I believe. So if you, like me, have been waiting forever for FPV cycle motors, this week is your week. By the way, Kebab said he was not going to do a big announcement. He said, I saw him mention it on Facebook, so I know it's okay for me to talk about it. But he was not going to do a great big announcement because he wants all the people who have had the motors with the messed up bells to be able to get replacements. So he's not going to do a big push, but they will they will be here. And he says, oh, are you kidding me? Shut up. Fine V. No. I refuse to believe that. Fine V in the Discord says the Tuesday shipment is only the 25mm motors. Shut up. Shut up. That can't... I don't like that answer. I'm going to ask him. Hang on, I'm going to pardon me for a second. All right, I'm going to ask him and see if he answers me. Huff19 says, damn it, now they're going to be sold out. So, Huff, I asked Bob about this, and he said that it was a very large shipment of motors that he thought would not sell out immediately. That being said, I'm 100% sure it will sell out immediately, and I'm just hoping I get some. Wait. Is the 25 millimeter the 5-inch? Oh, my bad. 2506. Oh. The 25 millimeter is the 5-inch. Sorry. I was distracted because I was on a live stream and my brain wasn't fully engaged. Apologies for that. The 2506 is the 5-inch. Yeah. Yeah. I am been waiting. Y'all got any more of them 5-inch motors? Yeah. I was thinking of like the what is his third? I was thinking of like the 1200, the 12 millimeter, the 120 whatever micro motors. Yeah. Okay. I'm all worked up. Let me catch up on the other super chats while we're here. Dave Pencilgwin, thank you for a $2 super chat. For food towards the cricket in my room. I don't know where the cricket went. There was a cricket in my room once upon a time. Now there's no more cricket. Presumably he went to live at a farm somewhere. GMI Visuals says, Sharkbite latency test the same as DJI Mads Tech test. What? That's... I gotta find out more about that. Okay, I don't know what that is. Where is it? Where is this latency test? Where is the latency test? DJI FPV camera latency testing. Is that it? That's a live stream. I'm not going to... If anybody can give me a timestamp or a direct link to this Mads... Oh, in his community tab. Thank you so much for that. Scout HD compared to the Sharkbite module. 31 versus 38. Interesting. 31, 38, 31, 37. So it seems like what we're seeing here is the Scout HD has lower latency than a goggle with module, largely, I'm guessing, because of the HDMI conversion. Ooh, we got a big chart here. Where's the averages? Yeah. Is this graph showing us that DJI has less latency than Sharkbite under some circumstances? That, oh my God, someone's gonna die. Oh my God. Ah! Ah! Oh, Mads Tech. Oh, the comments must... If I were to release this chart, my inbox would be so full of screams right now. Can this be real? Some of it has to do with Sharkbite being 60 hertz versus DJI 120 hertz. That's not true because he tested the Caddx Polar, which is 60 hertz. And the latency is... Oh, it's pretty close. Can this... Okay, let's put some perspective on this. Okay, hang on. Let's put some perspective on this. These are best case DJI latency. You know and I know that when you go fly DJI, the latency starts out at like 21, 25 milliseconds, and then as soon as you fly away, it goes up to 30 or 35. So that's the first thing. The Scout, the Sharkbite latency is going to stay the same regardless of distance. The other thing is that the latency changes, and that throws you off. So, still, I'm kind of, I just, this is a bombshell that this chart exists. It's a huge bombshell. I kind of can't take it in. So how, he's saying samples. Now, how is he measuring the latency? Can we see him do the latency testing? What technique is he using to measure the latency? I mean, I could guess, but why guess when we can actually have data? Okay, so he is using the oscilloscope method, apparently, which is basically you have an LED and a photodiode. The LED lights up and the photodiode detects the brightness from the LED in the camera. So it is a proper, true end-to-end latency. It's a totally valid way of measuring. I mean, assuming he hasn't made some dumb mistake, but which presumably he hasn't. He's a pretty smart guy. Why is it so hard to accept? Thomas Shoes World asks. Well, Thomas, I have no problem accepting data. I love data. And one of the reasons I'm so like gobsmacked right now is there are few things I love more in the world when data shows an unexpected result that I have no emotional investment in. Like if I had built a company around some premise and data came out showing that my premise was false, I would be like, fuck. I would not be like excited. But in a case like this, I don't have sort of a financial investment in one of these systems being better than the other. And having some bombshell data that is unexpected is exciting and interesting. That's all. I think if you were to ask, 100 FPV pilots, which has lower latency, DJI or SharkBite, they would say SharkBite. And under a certain set of assumptions, that does not seem to be true, which is stunning. It's stunning. I would have lost money. I would have said, well, obviously, SharkBite has lower latency. And under many real-world conditions, SharkBite will have lower latency. But not if you're flying, not if you're flying Caddx Polar. Not if you're flying past a certain range. But very interesting. Very interesting. Wow. Well, that's going on the news. That's for damn sure. That's for damn sure it's going on the news. I got to ping it over to Blunty. Hang on. Let me send this over to Blunty real quick before I forget. It's Blunty. There he is. Okay. He may have already sent me this and I just missed it. Alrighty. Wow. Wasn't fixed latency the whole point of SharkBite's system? Yes, Josh Fisk. Josh, for the record, SharkBite does not have an analog digital system. Bitefrost had an analog camera fed into a digital VTX. SharkBite is digital all the way, okay, just for the record. And the benefit of SharkBite is fixed latency, not lower latency. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people might miss. That SharkBite's latency is going to stay the same, whereas DJI, you dive into an obstructed area and suddenly the latency climbs and throws you off. So there we go. Very interesting. Fixed latency is valuable. I couldn't believe I'm a little stunned. Johnny 5 says DJI lag is Johnny 5 is like the proponent of DJI for racing. It's always good to have people trying to get the most out of any system. Johnny 5 says DJI lag is not as bad if you use correct settings for latency. 25 megabits per second, low latency mode, focus mode off. That is, I agree. And then of course maximum output power. Although if you're racing, that may not be an option. If you're flying with other people, that may not be an option. Yeah, that 25 meg. Well, Johnny, will 25 meg keep the latency as low as possible? Or will 50 meg give like more bandwidth to, I don't know. I could see it going either way. You've probably tested it. Amen wants to know, what's your view on the new Holybro F4 ESC that can do 128K PWM? All right, so let's start with this. ESCs are coming out with F4 chips on them right now. The same F4 chip that is used on flight controllers. I believe that the only reason they're doing this is because they can't get the chips that they want, that they used to, what is it, the BB2 chip, the whatever it is. The chips that they used to make ESCs out of, they simply can't get. And I know that I'm not gonna name names as to which manufacturer I know this from, because I don't want to. It was a private conversation, and I don't want to risk betraying a confidence. But I know at least one manufacturer of an ESC explicitly said, I can't get the chips I need. I can't make a batch of ESCs. So I'm just going to buy F4s and put them on my ESC. Well, that narrows it down a little bit because there's only so many ESCs now coming out with F4s. But there's a lot of, there's this Holybro, there's an iFlate one, there's a Redux Air, and there's probably more than that. Okay, so I guess you could probably guess it was one of them, but I'm still not going to say more. So for those of you who are thinking, oh, an ESC with an F4 chip, wow, the performance must be spectacular. No, the only reason they're doing it is because they can't get the other chips that they need. The F4 chip is more expensive, but they can get them. And these days with the silicon shortage, that makes the decision. Damn flies. Okay, so then this ESC can do 128K PWM. Well, isn't that a performance enhancement? No, that is marketing. It's BS. It is pointless. You should ignore it, in my humble opinion. If you go, what we know is that as you go to higher PWM frequencies, you get smoother motors, but you also get reduced torque, specifically reduced braking torque, and that is especially relevant down at low RPMs. I have talked to Mark Spatz, and I believe he is on record as saying that there is no point in going above about 48K PWM for a 5-inch quad. Now, for the very, very small quads, there can be some advantages to 96K PWM in terms of increased battery life. That's a separate conversation. But at 5 inches and up, 96K PWM, it reduces torque. It's just pointless. I think UAV Tech has said that. If I'm wrong, I apologize. You should double check that. And he's not the only one. So this Holybro flight controller with 128K PWM, my opinion, what is happening is that they cannot get the MCU chips to build their ESCs. They are buying whatever they can get. There is no performance reason to put an F4 on an ESC, but at least they can make an ESC. And then they say, oh, look, we got 128K PWM, see? As a way of convincing you that that's really why you're buying the F4. Don't run 128K PWM or 96K PWM on a 5-inch quad. Don't do it. That's my take. There's basically no harm, Huff19. There is no harm in using an F4. It's just more expensive. That's correct. There's no harm. The only place there might be harm is, and I don't know why the ESCs do this, some ESCs, like it seems like there's only a certain range of PWM frequencies that they can support. So like the Holybro ESC that goes to 96K will only go down to 48. It won't go to 24. And then there's ESCs that go 48 to 24. And if by opening up 128, they don't let you go down to at least 48, then that's a problem. I don't know if that's true or not. If the ESC was 128 to 96, I just wouldn't buy it for a 5-inch at all. 48 is the highest I want to go for a 5-inch, and I might like to go lower. Okay. Good question. Good question. Amon says, I can really feel the difference between 2448 and 96K. The motors sound really different. I'm guessing you're on a 5-inch or that it wouldn't be that interesting of a conversation. On micro quads, yes, 96K can make a big difference in flight time. I think a lot of people running 96K on a 5-inch will notice poor braking performance and low throttle instability without getting really any advantages. That's my take. It's my hot take. And in theory, BL Heli dynamic PWM frequency can solve this problem by going to high PWM frequency at high RPM and low PWM frequency at low RPM. But there's a bug in BL Heli 32.8 where the PWM is not actually there's a bug in BL Heli 32.8 where the RPM reported by bidirectional D-Shot is incorrect. It's fixed in BL Heli 32.8.1, but that messes everything up. And the way that BL Heli does dynamic PWM isn't the best way to do it anyway, because it's based on throttle position, not motor RPM. The way that the AM32 firmware does it is actually based on the motor RPM, where the PWM frequency specifically avoids the harmonic of the motor RPM. The BL Heli way of doing it hopes that they're staying away from it, but they don't actually know. People are asking why not 96K. I feel like I said that. Maybe the chat's a little bit behind. On a 5-inch, 96K will give reduced braking performance and worse low throttle instability. Now, WKFPV says FetTech are 128K PWM and you can't change it. Is it a BL Heli problem? Yes. FetTech is doing a lot of other stuff under the hood. We're just talking about BL Heli here. FetTech does 128K PWM, and I don't know what else they're doing under the hood. Okay, maybe they have some kind of variable PWM frequency. Maybe they're doing some kind of sinusoidal drive instead of trapezoidal drive, or I'm just spouting nonsense here. I don't know what FetTech does under the hood, but we're just talking about BL Heli here. Okay. Crunk says FetTech does do dynamic PWM. There you go. So. I've got a couple more super chats coming in. Let's get them out of the way. Flox MFPV, thank you for €5. Do you think the T-Motor F60 Pro 2700 kV suck? Too many amps or reduced flight time for a freestyle quad? I mean, I assume you're talking 4S, yeah. No, that's a great motor. I mean, 2700 kV is a little on the high end, but I like high kV 4S motors. You're going to have to watch your weight and your prop. So if you're up around 800 grams on that motor, you're going to really, and you've got like a 51477, 51499, like really, really high pitch props. If you're heavy and you have a high pitch prop, that motor's going to kill your battery. So you don't want that. With a 2700 kV motor, you're going to want to keep the quad on the lighter side. Maybe 750 to 700 grams would be ideal. And then you're going to want to use a lower pitch prop. And fortunately, there are a ton of really good low pitch props these days. The movement in props seems to be towards like a 5.1 inch prop with about like a 3 to 4 prop pitch, which could be ideal for that motor. But don't be too heavy. If you're going to be heavy, then you're going to need a lower kV motor and maybe a higher pitch prop. It's still going to handle like crap, but at least your battery won't die. Bannister Post says, one more question about 96K. Would it be okay on a 7-inch Cine lifter or stick to 48K? Bannister Post, I think that the larger the prop and the larger the motor, the less reason there is to have a high PWM frequency. Now, you could make an argument that the smoothness of the higher PWM frequency would be desirable on a Cine lifter, and you would want to test that. Back in the day, I used to recommend higher PWM frequency to fix mid-throttle oscillations, and that's still just as true as it was then. It's just that the higher PWM frequency also comes with some downsides in terms of tuning. So I would stick to 48K. You could try 96K on your Cinelifter and see if it works for you, but I suspect 48K would be fine. Jared Romero, thanks for a $10 super chat. I swapped motors from Hype Train Freestyle 2450 kV to T-Motor Veloce 2700 kV on my 5-inch build, and the ESC rebooted on me mid-flight. Motors weren't hot. Jared, I would not normally expect swapping motors to cause your ESC to reboot mid-flight. I would guess that, I mean, even if the motors were like pulling too many amps, the ESC would overheat and kind of melt and maybe fry, but just a sort of a random reboot, that doesn't point to the motors for me. Just, the preponderance of the evidence points away from the motors there. You can never be 100% sure. So perhaps when you were soldering up the motors, you got a solder ball or a solder blob somewhere, and that's causing a problem. Or it's a RacerStar ESC, so it could just be about to die for no... I mean, you just... Every time you power up a RacerStar ESC, you roll the dice, and sometimes they blow up. Is that still true? Are RacerStar ESDs still kind of crap? Man, maybe they got better, but that's my take. Also, do the obvious. Check your battery lead, right? Check that your XT60 isn't loose. If you unplug your XT60 with just like a little fingertip pull, it's too loose. And you can take like a small Phillips head screwdriver and jam it down in the prongs on the quadcopter side, not the battery side. Jam it down in the prongs on the quadcopter side and kind of spread the prongs out just a little bit, and it'll tighten it up. Signal wires. Mad Max FPV says it's always signal wires these days. Signal wires would not cause the ESC to reboot, though. You would hear doot doot. That would be a signal wire. If you hear doot doot doot, that is a power issue or ESC damage. People in the chat are agreeing with me that RacerStar are kind of trash. I mean, they're cheap, and some people use them for a long time and have no problem, but they're kind of cheap. Back our DFPV, thank you for a $5 super chat. Hey, J-Rod's World says, what if you do it on the battery side? What would happen? Nothing would happen, J-Rod. On the battery side, you would have to short circuit both the prongs, which you couldn't do with a screwdriver unless you were like, had a weird screwdriver, but nothing will happen on the battery side. It'll just go in there. Back our DFPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. I have Jello in the goggles on my Caddx Polar Vista. My buddy has none on the same setup. Quad is smooth, flies great, new props. Back RD, it's not a camera issue, first of all. Jello is in theory, the mounting of your camera could be different, and it's got some vibes, but it's probably not a camera issue. Something is causing excess vibration about your setup. It probably is not a tuning issue. Part of the problem with this is that people will say Jello, and they won't always mean what I think of when I say Jello. So sometimes people have said I have Jello, and what they've actually got is just a wildly off-balance motor, and the quad is just blah, blah, blah. Right? I wouldn't call that Jello, but so I don't know that we're talking the same thing when we say Jello. If you if you get me a link somehow to a video, I'll take a look at it and I'll tell you if I think it's Jello. But the fact that your buddy has no vibrations on the same setup, I mean, it's you know, you buy 8 motors and one of them has a bad bearing. You don't know. Something's up with your setup that is making vibration, and you just have to figure out what it is. It's not very, I can't really be more helpful other than to say start looking at where the vibration is coming from on your side. Z Carizales says different, the TPU camera mount could be causing it. Yeah. Back RD, the first thing I would want to do is find out if it's your camera mounting on your camera. Depending on how the camera is mounted, it may be picking up vibration. One thing to look at would be if you also see the vibration in your GoPro. If you see vibration both in the GoPro and in the FPV cam, then it's probably not the camera mounting that's causing it. So, Todd Tube, thank you for a $10 super chat. Todd posted a question in the Discord chat about the JHEMCU. Let's see, Todd, where are you, my friend? Thank you for a $10 donation in the super chat. Where, Todd? There we go. Here we go. So Todd Tube, Todd is trying to... Oh, the chat is helping him. Gosh, my Discord is so helpful. They beat me to it. Todd is trying to download and flash this Betaflight file, but it's coming down as a RAR file. A RAR is an archive, like a zip file, and you want to download the program 7-zip is what I like to use. 7-zip. And it can open that RAR file and decompress it. It's free and nice to use. Callie FPV, thank you for a $5 super chat. I'm about to build my first digital build. Can you recommend a good stack for a 6S 5-inch build? I totally can. It's a little early in the stream for this, but since you asked, here is my website. Home of the ultimate FPV shopping list. The website is fpvknowitall.com, and I have here a whole page about recommended parts for a 5-inch freestyle drone, including flight controllers for DJI. See DJI Ready? That's what you want. Or DJI only. So those, take a look through there. That's not the only good stuff in the world, but it's a carefully curated selection of stuff that I think is good and worth your look. 507RC wants to know, how's the website redesign going? Well, 507RC, I've got 2 pages up. It's taken me about a month to do every page, despite the best efforts of people who are helping me. But slowly but surely, I am trying not to stress too much about the pace. Like the thing that I have to do every day is answer my inboxes and make videos. And when I'm done doing that, then I do things like work on the website. And oftentimes there's not a lot of time left over for that other stuff, but I try not to stress about it. So... One Eye FPV wants to know, when will the plebs be able to watch the Flow State documentary? One Eye, it's still sometime in the future. We are working on getting it in front of people who could make buying decisions for services like Netflix, Amazon, HBO, IMAX, Disney. We're working on that. We also have entered it into 10 or 15 different film festivals. As soon as one of these film festivals accepts it, I will make an announcement, because oftentimes you can go to a film festival and watch the film, or maybe even watch it online, depending on their policy about in-person events. Like in 2020, a lot of film festivals were virtual, so you could watch them from almost anywhere in the world. I have no more news about that, unfortunately, at the time. So, Stanley's Bigowski, thank you for a $20 super chat. That's a big super chat. I bought the Chimera 4 HD with Crossfire wired in. I wired S-Bus so I could use the DJI remote. Now I have RX failsafe MSP, no stick movements. What can I do? Well, Stan, you... where... We have to... Stan, I don't know if we'll be able to do this on the live stream, because what the next thing I need to ask you is, where on the flight controller did you connect the yellow S-Bus wire from the air unit? And then we go from there to your ports tab, which UART has Serial RX enabled. And then the final thing to do, Stan, is check the normal versus fast S-Bus protocol in the DJI goggles. Okay? So those are the things we have to check, but I don't know if we're going to be able to easily do that back and forth on a live stream. So definitely email me, Stan. We'll go through it. JoshuaBardwell@gmail.com. Mooney says, I have an RXSR with F-port firmware 191128. I am unable to get RSSI greater than 58 even when directly in front of the quad. Mooney, correct me if I'm wrong. Is Hero Psycho here? Hero Psycho, he's the F-port proponent on my Discord server. Don't you have to set... Don't you have... Oh, you guys can watch while I type. So you don't... I hate typing on stream. Don't you have to set RSI scale equals 200 when using F-port RSSI? I believe that the F-port RSSI only goes 0 to 50 for some dumb reason, and you have to set the scale equals 200. So then the question is, how are you getting 58? Because that would be 116, which it can't be more than 100, but there you go. Yeah, I'm pretty sure about that one. Okay. Chill Out FPV wants to know, can I hook up both digital and analog signals at the same time on the Foxeer SharkBite camera? Do I need to run separate plus and minus wires for each of them? Chill Out, I guarantee you, you do not need a separate power and ground wire. The camera only needs a single power and ground. As far as whether it outputs both analog and SharkBite, that is a good question. I bet it does. I bet it does, but I'm not 100% sure. Mooney, you are correct that RSSI scale should only affect beta flight. You are correct. If you're seeing RSSI in the telemetry screen, that's coming straight from the receiver, and it just is what it is. The next thing I would do is I would try to see if it fail safes. Like, don't fly it. But, like, if you fly it like low to the ground in a safe place and see if you can actually get it to fail safe. You could just have a bogus RSSI reading. That's the next thing I would want to check. Mike Bergman said, don't make me do a typing test, Mike Bergman. He's not really typing. He's pretending to type fast. Should I do a typing test? Oh, that old one. Well, let's do a poll. We've seen me do a typing test before. You know I can. I don't play. Lazy Norse, thank you for 50 Norwegian kroner. Thank you for 50 Norwegian kroner. When I flip or roll hard, the quad tries to fly away until I wrestle control back. Only when I quick yaw or flip with no throttle. Any suggestions? Lazy Norse, once upon a time, I had a flight controller. It was one of the original Holybro Kakute flight controllers, and it had a gyro mounted on a little piece of soft mounting tape. And the soft mount tape was too floppy. Make sense? And when I would do a snap roll, the gyro would wobble so much that the whole quad would get into this feedback loop and try to fly away until I lowered the throttle, or sometimes disarmed. So it feels to me like it's a gyro issue. Now, your flight controller doesn't have, presumably, a soft-mounted gyro, but your flight controller is probably soft-mounted. For example, if you had the flight controller on gummies and rubber standoffs, then I would think that might be it. But yeah, I would look to the mounting of the flight controller. That's where I would go. Lazy North says, this is my new F7 flight controller. Are you on your default PIDs and filters, or have you pushed the sliders all the way to the right? The other thing, Lazy North, I have to say, and I'm embarrassed to say this because it's my flight controller, but I will always speak the truth. I have had a disappointing number of flight controllers, my flight controllers, where I had to go from both gyros to either first or second because one of the gyros was being noisy. And so what would happen is the quad would kind of act like tick, 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 or it would have all the signs of a bad gyro. And since my flight controller has dual gyros, you can change it from both to first or second and see which one is the bad gyro. Now, there's some bias in this, because when a flight controller has two gyro chips, the chances of it having a bad gyro is doubled. right? So it's hard to know how much of that is just because, but it's a disappointing number. And I've talked to iFlight about what we can do about this. For the time being, what you can do about it is if you have a brand new flight controller with a bad gyro, go ask whoever you bought it from to give you another one. Say, look, you know, hopefully they'll take care of you. But what I would do there is I would switch from both gyros to first. And if that doesn't fix it, switch to second. And if that doesn't fix it, I'm going to guess it's a bad gyro, and you should ask and say, look, this is a brand new flight controller. It's acting like this. Go back to the store you bought it from and see what they can do for you. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I know people, some people don't like when I burp on stream. Suck it up. I'm a human. Let's see here. We're caught up on super chats. I got one more super chat. Anthony DiStefano, thanks for a $5 super chat. Is there any crossover from Rotor Riot and TBS? A rivalry, friendships? I don't know the answer to that question, Anthony DiStefano. There has been friction in the past. I'm not going to get into interpersonal stuff, but I will say that there was a time when TBS would not sell product to Rotor Riot for sale in their store. Then I think that cooled off. What's the current state? Well, if I search for TBS, TBS Crossfire Diversity Nano RX in stock. So that's the current state. That's all I can tell you. So once upon a time, TBS would not have sold these to Rotor Riot for resale. And now apparently they are. So at the very least, that's where their relationship is at. As far as their personal feelings, I certainly could not speak to that. Ron Legend in the Discord wants to know, when I do snap, flips, or rolls, my DJI FPV system glitches out for a second. What do I need to check? Ron, the very first thing I would check is the power to the DJI system. If it's a regulator, like a 9-volt regulator, it may be under-spec'd or not, or badly designed or just damaged, so that when the motors surge, it makes like a voltage surge that causes the regulator to brown out a little bit. If it's powered from VBAT, then the situation gets more complicated. Ron, I'm going to guess, I'm going to hope that you're powered from a regulator, and the workaround then is to move the red wire for the VTX, for the DJI VTX, from the regulator to like ESC plus. So you're powering it straight from VBAT. Now, if you have a Vista, it's good up to 6S. If you have an air unit, it's only good up to 17 volts. So if you're running 6S with an air unit, you can't do that. Then you have to get a different regulator. So the T-Motor F722, doesn't that have a 10-volt regulator coming from the ESC? Ron, is it a Vista or is it an air unit, Ron? That's the big question. Tom Shu says, is it a Vista? Is it a Vista, Ron Legend? Vista. Okay, so Ron, here's what I would do. Take the red wire to the Vista, the VBAT wire, or the power wire, move it off of the 10-volt pad where I'm going to guess it is now, and move it to a VBAT pad, whether that's on the flight controller or whether that is straight off the ESC plus. Assuming you're running 6S or lower, then that'll probably fix the problem. So, Tom Shu says, my Radix Lee flight controller has a 3-volt boot pad. How do I do that? Let's look at that closer, Tom. The Radix Lee. I'm not actually sure what you're talking about. So let's see if we can get a closer look. I want to see products. Radix Lee. Where's the? Can I just see the? Oh. Where's the manual, please? Radix Lee hardware manual. Bingo. Connect introduction. Can I just see a pinout? Please, can I see a pinout? Can I just see a pin out? Oh my God, can I just see a pin out? Okay, that doesn't work. Let's try Google image search. Oh, here we go, kids. So there's 3.3 volt. This isn't a bootloader pad. Go to the support tab. Well, here we are. So, Tom, where is the bootloader pad that you're seeing here? These looks like the little LEDs. This, to me, just looks like a 3.3 volt output. People are behind and they're saying scroll down. Is there a, like... I don't think there's... Oh, here we go. Here we go. 3.3 volt slash boot. I see. So, yes, I see. So we've got boot on one side and 3.3 volt on the other. And I'm going to guess what you do is you take a tweezers and you bridge those two together. That's why they put them on the opposite side from each other. So when you press the bootloader button on a flight controller, all it's doing is applying 3.3 volts to a pin on the MCU, on the processor. I'm going to guess what they've done is they've given you 3.3 volts here, so you can use 3.3 volts to power a receiver, but they've put the bootloader pad right on the other side, and that by like just take a tweezers and pinch them together so they're bridged, then that's how you would put it in bootloader. That's just a guess based on how other flight controllers work. Suffice it to say, there shouldn't be any damage or harm done if we're wrong, because most pins on an MCU are tolerant of up to 3.3 volts. So if you bridge this boot pad, where's the... Can I just see the underside of the flight controller? Where's the other side? Okay, what about if I just search for Radixley bootloader? Like, I'm 99% sure I'm right about this, but let's try to be 100% sure. Custom bootloader, huh? I'm pretty sure about this, but yeah, that's got to be why they're opposite from each other. Brian Lewis says, I recently had a thing where I had to remove my receiver power from the 5-volt power to enter DFU mode. Here's why that is, Brian. I actually made a video about this. I forgot about this video, and now someone reminded me that it existed. Here is the video. Are you trying to flash your Betaflight flight controller and it will not go into DFU mode? It's the same for iNav. It's the same for any firmware that's running on an F4, F7, or H7 processor. There is a really common mistake that can cause this. You're not going to believe what it is. Thanks to Maytech for summing this up, although this information has been out there in other places. If you've got any peripheral, like a GPS or a receiver, connected to UART1 or UART3 of an F4, F7, or H7 chip, and these peripherals are powered on while connecting USB, then it can prevent the flight controller from entering DFU mode. The fix for this is, if you've got any peripheral that you know will be powered off of USB, most typically a receiver or a GPS, don't put them on UART1 or UART3 if you can possibly avoid it, or I guess power it down when you need to fly. Yeah, so that is the cause, and then you would be totally entitled to say, hold on, you would be totally entitled to ask, then if that's true, then why in the manual for your flight controller do you recommend putting it on R1 if it's going to cause that problem? And I would not have a good answer for you. So, shut up. Here's the big question that I don't know the answer to. I have never run into this. I've never run into this. I mean, personally. And I have a lot of JBF7s and a lot of quads. I have Crossfire, Ghost, Express LRS. I've literally never run into this. It always just works. So I can't figure out why some people run into this and some people don't. But there you go. Oh my God. It's because of YouTube Shorts, guys. It's because of YouTube Shorts and TikTok. They like vertical video. It's a YouTube short. They want it to be vertical. What can I say? Oh my God. All right. Anyway, now you know. Hey, UAV Tech. Good to see you, my friend. UAV Tech. Way back at the beginning of the live stream, we talked about 96K, and now freaking Holy Bro has a 128K PWM, 128K Hertz PWM ESC. So, what do you think of that? Oh, Madstech is here as well. Madstech, why you got to shake the world up, saying that Sharkbite has worse latency than DJI? What's wrong with you? Don't you know? Oh, wow. The typing test. 50-50. That's not going to be good enough. I'm not going to do the typing test. 262 votes. 15 minutes. It is exactly 50-50. We're not going to do it. End poll. All right. Baskin FPV says, sometimes the DFU loader is broken. Baskin, respectfully, I don't think that's usually true. It is very difficult to mess up the DFU bootloader on an STM microprocessor. It is baked into ROM. You can't, like, flash it. And you know how sometimes you can flash the bootloader on something and brick it, and then you can't get it back because you ruined the bootloader, and that's the only way to flash. You can't do that on STM32 chip. The bootloader is baked into ROM. Basically, physical damage to the chip. There are some programming tools where you could intentionally disable the bootloader, but you're not going to do that using Betaflight Configurator. If you can't get a flight controller to go into bootloader mode, most of the time it's a driver or USB cable issue or USB port issue on your computer. Some of the time the flight controller itself is damaged, but it is very challenging to mess that up except through physical damage. UAV Tech says 128K PWM is great for low electrical noise, but probably really bad for ESC heat and braking torque. Thomas Shue says tweezers worked like a champ. The Radix Lee went into bootloader mode. Yay. Glad that worked. Mads Tech. Oh, Mads Tech. You can't go dropping a bomb like that. Mads Tech says, I was not trying to prove that Sharkbite is worse than DJI. Some of the data is out of context, though. Bench testing is very different to real world. Bench testing, very different to real world. Please elaborate, sir. Please elaborate. Yeah. Miguel T, thank you for a $10 super chat. Miguel T says, is Pyrodrone related to healthcare? I just realized the guy on the icon, that's Serge, by the way, Serge the owner, is wearing a lab coat and a stethoscope. Can't find any info on that. I'll ask him. Since you left us $10 super chat, I don't know the answer. I'll ask him and I'll let you know if he answers. Thank you for a $10 super chat. Ian Bible can't get the JBF7 into DFU. Press the button. Don't use the BL command in Betaflight if you're having trouble. If pressing the button doesn't work, desolder the power from the receiver if you're on UART1, or move the receiver to UART2. Jeremy Sarge says you especially can't trust the results if the bench test is sponsored by DJI. What does that mean? I know you're not accusing MadsTech of skewing data. Like that can't be. He is, you know, he seems pretty forthright and pretty upstanding to me. I don't think that's kebab in a lab coat, Nick Hessen. Doesn't look like kebab to me. It looks like Surge. DQ says, I seriously do not understand the vertical video idiocy. I feel like these new age apps want you to feel like the world should be viewed through an archer's slit. DQ, I hate to say this to you. I say this as a person. I am 46 years old. The age of 46. This is the year where I started having to take some medicine, some pill every day to manage my health. And you know, I saw a TikTok and the person said, well, you know, ever since I got into my late 30s, I've got this pain. And then the other person they're talking to in the sketch is like, oh yeah, you can do some stretches for that. And they're like, yeah, and then the pain will go away. And they're like, no, you just do stretches now for the rest of your life. You're middle-aged. Congratulations. And I was like, well, this is it. Age of 46. This is the year when it used to be like I would have a heartburn. And then I would take some heartburn medicine for a week, and then it would go away and I'd be fine. But it's official. I'm now old enough that probably it's just going to get worse for the rest of my life. I'm going to take more and more pills every day, or do stretches or exercise or whatever the F I have to do to stay freaking, mentally healthy and pain-free. And I say that to let you know that I'm getting on in age. Not a young punk. I'm not some young Gen whatever alpha punk coming along and going, sheesh, okay, my guy. Calling you, obviously, there's guys out there who are older than me and they're like, oh, you're still young. I know. My point is this. If you look at vertical video and go, what the frick is wrong with, you're just old. You're just old. Old people don't like it when the world changes, and then they say that the world is wrong. And I've just realized this as it's happened to me more and more. We went from no television to television. And people's grandparents were like, what is this television thing? Ah, radio. Now that was where it was at. And when radio came out, people went, what is this radio? Ah, live performances. That's where it's at. And then the internet came along and people were like, the internet's a real problem. And they might have been right. Maybe they've been right the whole time. You go back far enough, people are like, what are you doing? Setting down in one place and planting crops and building permanent housing. We're nomadic hunter-gatherers. This whole civilization and agriculture thing is a big mistake. Maybe they were right. But that's not the way we went. And so I just want you to know, when you go, vertical video, it's stupid. There's nothing unique about vertical video that makes it particularly stupid. You're just at the age where the next thing that happens you think is stupid. We're all going to get there. So here's the thing. I mean, obviously live your life how you want to live it. Go to your grave complaining about how stupid things are. The problem is that it's getting faster, right? The generational shifts in technology and culture are accelerating, at least in part because of the internet and because of technology. So Do you know how out of touch? Like, think about this. For those of your grandfather, you know, or maybe your great grandfather, depending on how old you are. Maybe your father, depending on how old you are. Most of us probably can think of an old person who was completely out of touch at the end of their life. And I think you got to ask yourself if you want to be that person. And maybe you do. Maybe they were just happy, right? They freaking read a newspaper every morning instead of reading the internet. And they did their gardening or their knitting, and they were happy. Fine, no problem. That's a perfectly respectable choice. But if you don't make an effort to keep up, you're going to be way more out of touch at the end of your life than your grandparents, your parents, your great-grandparents were, because things are moving so fast. Geez, Grandpa, don't you have a neural implant? I mean, you got to decide. So if vertical video is going to be where you make your stand, whew, enjoy your knitting, Grandpa. Anyway. I try. I mean, I try. That's why I'm on TikTok. I'm like, okay, TikTok is where the kids are going. Okay, well, I mean, let's face it. Somewhere out there, there's someone who was incredibly successful on MySpace. They're not successful anymore. Someday YouTube's going to go that way. And then what am I going to do? Complain about kids of these days and how much they suck. Vertical video has its place. It's just another format. There's no right or wrong. Serge says Dr. Pyro is a name he was given back in his heli days because he caught issues on people's helis. So when he raced, his handle was Dr. Pyro. Okay, there we go. Vertical video, it's just another aspect ratio. There's nothing wrong with it. It has a place. Now, here's what I will not stand. I've seen people, FPV pilots, do this because FPV is always better horizontal. Really, FPV is better horizontal. Sorry, I hate consuming FPV video in vertical format, and people are like, rotate your phone 90 degrees. No, shut up. I will not. As soon as you say rotate your phone 90 degrees, I swipe. I don't care. I'm not doing it. You can't tell me how to hold my phone. It's my phone. If your TikTok comes up and you go, wait, don't swipe away. Boom, I'm gone. Because what that tells me is that you know that what you're about to show me isn't interesting. Thanks for the heads up. All right, we've gotten off track. We got some super chats to catch up on. Coelho FPV says, what's the stator height of the FPV Cycle 30mm? I don't know the answer, and I don't know that he's published it. Does anybody know? Bob is telling me that the 5-inch motor is not... I thought it was called the 5-inch motor. He's calling it the Imperial 25mm, and those are the motors that are coming into stock on Tuesday. What size is the FPV Cycle 30mm? Does anybody know? Now, he says that it is 10.7% wider and 22.6% larger by volume than a 2806.5, so you could do the math. Rauk FPV, this is a very interesting conversation for me. I'll talk about it just a tiny bit more about the vertical video, but I'm not going to rant. Rauk FPV says, due to our eyes being next to each other, we do experience the world in a horizontal view. But you're right. But what if your subject is a person standing up? A person standing up is an inherently vertical subject, isn't it? And usually what you do, Linus Tech Tips is the worst for this. Linus Tech Tips records his videos in, I think, 2:1 aspect ratio. It is a super wide cinematic aspect ratio, and I hate it for YouTube content because he'll have a guy, and the guy is just sitting there, and then there's like, oh, all this not used space to the side. And I'm like, what's the point? So a human is actually suited to vertical field of view. So. Coelho, do the math. 2806 plus 10.7% wider and 22.6% larger by volume. Work a little algebra and you can figure out the dimension. Should we do it? Damn it. We're going to do some algebra, folks. Because I just realized that's a more complicated algebra problem than I at first thought. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Okay, so what we've got is it is 28 millimeters diameter and 06.5 millimeters height. We've got diameter times 10.7%. Diameter plus 10.7% equals diameter. Okay, 28 times 1.107 is 31 millimeters diameter for the FPV cycle 30 millimeter motor. Interesting. Now it's 22.6% larger by volume. So he hasn't given us the height. We have to derive the height. So the volume of a 2806.5 is 28 divided by 2 is the radius squared times 6.5 times 3.14. It's 4,000. That's convenient. Equals 4,000 millimeters cubed. The volume of the FPV cycle motor is 22.6% larger, so 4,000 volume of the 30 millimeter motor is 4,000 millimeters cubed times 22.6 is, no, dumbass. That's dumb. Times 1226. Hello, go back. There we go. Times 1.226 is 4904 millimeters cubed. Okay, so now the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared times the height, right? So the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared times height equals 4904 millimeters cubed. That's 3.14 times the radius is 31 divided by 2 is 15.5 millimeters squared times the height. Okay, we're getting there. 15.5 is 240. So times 3.14, 754 times the height, now 4904, 754 times height equals 4904, and 4904 divided by 754, 4904 divided by 754, 6.5. Have I screwed that up? Or is the height 6.5 millimeters? Chat, check my math. I believe what I've determined is that the height of the FPV cycle 30 millimeter motor is 6.5 millimeters. But the fact that it came out at exactly 6.5 millimeters kind of makes me wonder if I screwed the math up somewhere and I just backed myself into a circle logically. Anybody want to check me? Yeah, so it suggests that what he did is he made the motor wider but not taller, and that would also explain why he discuss the volume without mention the volume and the width, but not the height. Oh, I didn't. Times 122.6 equals, I should put that consistent, plus 22.6%. There we go. All right, no one is doing the math. No one's actually doing the math. All right. All right, well, there's the math. You can pause if you want and check it, but I think that's correct. But I often make dumb mistakes when doing math, especially on a live stream. And then my wife is like, no, 2 + 2 is not 5. And I'm like, oh. Yeah, so. I got a degree from Georgia Tech, boys. I know me some algebra. Okay. There you go, Coelho FPV. I hope you get your $5 out of that. Miguel T, thank you for a $15 super chat. I used the SpinTech 1304 motor with a Baby Tooth Frame 3S in lieu of FPV Cycle motors. I found them absolutely amazing. Emailed the owner. He's moving on and not restocking. Do you have any experience with these? I don't. I have no experience with them, and since he's not restocking, there's not much point in talking about him, is there? Oh my God is here. Oh my God. Very good to see you, man. Nice to see you in the chat. I just got in the mail a 250 that I'm going to build. In addition, Tommy, you'll be happy to hear this, the new product roundup, which is, it's the 22nd of the month, so it's extraordinarily late this month. Sorry. We are going to be giving away a 250 bind and fly for the giveaway. So, oh my God, it's the 250 month. So here we go. Good to see you, Tommy. Brian Lewis, thanks for a $5 super chat. I'm always learning stuff. I'm enjoying my new QAVS JB Freestyle build. Just wanting to swap the FPV Cycle motors. Me too, Brian. This Tuesday should be those motors coming in. Nick Hessen, thank you so much for a $20 super chat, Nick. It's a big one. We are a little backed up on super chats. I saw somebody asking, hey, did you miss my super chat? Probably not. I'm working my way backwards. Nick Hessen says, hi, brother. Just getting back into the swing of FPV after taking a year break. Do you have a DJI digital FPV ecosystem video or like a roundup? Polar, Vista, Nebula, oh my. Air unit is now not DJI but Caddx. Nick, the camera that you want is the Nebula Pro. Nebula Pro. You can't buy it today, so shut up. But that's the one. That's the best one. The next best one is the Polar. The Polar has higher latency but good image quality. The others I would stay away from, and that's the gist of it. It's all Caddx now, although soon it's going to be RunCam too, but it's all DJI really. So. Jiraj Mitosinka, thank you for a $2 super chat. Axie HD or iFlight Crystal is an upgrade for DJI. Jiraj, I think the Axie HD and the iFlight Crystal both perform very, very similarly. I don't know of anybody who has done an absolute back-to-back range test on them. Maybe RC Shim. RC Shim has some DJI range tests. He might have tested them. I think either of them could be good. The Crystal is a little more integrated. The Axie HD sticks to the front. The Crystal replaces the faceplate. The Crystal can look nicer. I think either of them could be good. Let's check and see if RC Shim has weighed in on which one is the best. That's not it. Can I search? Here we go. DJI range. Long range antennas tested. There we go. Where to put the good antennas. Want the results ranking. Go to 1756. Okay, thanks. iFlight Crystal HD. Oh. Well, he doesn't have the gosh darn Axie HD, so it's not many. It's not. That's too bad. I think it's a coin toss, but the Crystal looked nicer in a lower profile, so they're both good though. Kevin Sumner, here's your $5 super chat. My friend, would you talk about Betaflight's FPV angle mix? What's it for? When should it be used? Project Mockingbird enables it in angle mode on their tunes. So FPV angle mix, what it does is it automatically compensates for the camera up tilt, allowing you to turn the quad with just the yaw axis without having to coordinate the turn by inputting roll. You follow that? However, in Betaflight, FPV angle mix is always based on a constant, a fixed up tilt angle. So let's say that you've got 45 degrees of up tilt. And that means that when you input yaw, you also need to input 45 degrees worth of roll to make the quad turn flat. If you set FPV angle mix to 45 degrees, it will make it turn flat with just yaw, and that's fine. But what if you're not pitched at exactly 45 degrees? Even though your camera has 45 degrees of up tilt, sometimes you're going to pitch back and sometimes you're going to pitch forward. At that point, the angle mix is not correct anymore, and you still have to use roll. So basically, the way I think of FPV angle mix is it makes it seem like there is less up tilt than there is. If you have 45 degrees of up tilt on your camera, I'm just picking that as a round number, and you put in 20 degrees of angle mix, the flight controller will act like you have 45 minus 20, 25 degrees, okay? But Betaflight's FPV angle mix will never perfectly coordinate for a variable angle. So I believe what Silverware does is it actually takes into account the pitch angle of the quad when you're in angle mode and allows you to use the yaw stick to turn regardless of what your actual pitch angle is. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that Silverware does that. Betaflight doesn't. So the idea is that Tiny Whoop pilots usually fly in angle mode. And when you're flying in angle mode, you may want to just turn with the yaw stick so you don't have to be banging the roll stick around and upsetting your angle. And so they use camera angle mix to try to let them turn mostly with the yaw stick. That's the takeaway. But in general, for acro flying, don't use it. TechNerd 1101, just use the sticks. Just figure out the sticks. TechNerd 1101, thank you for a $20 super chat. I'm new to FPV. I built the Xylo 5 with RXSR and I crashed it. It went full throttle into the ground and would not respond to throttle. I built a microquad with the same receiver. The same thing happened. Is it likely the receiver? Did you set failsafe correctly? What it sounds like is that you didn't set failsafe correctly. So then when you failsafed, it went full throttle. So TechNerd, you have to, here's how to check failsafe. Take your props off, plug the quad in, arm the quad, and then turn the controller off. At that point, the motors should stop. If the motors don't stop, your failsafe isn't set correctly, and you should not fly until you set your failsafe correctly. Z Carazali says he thinks that Emu Flight's new angle mode does something similar. It may. I wasn't sure about that. All right, we are now caught up on super chats. No, we're not. We've got some more super chats. We'll get them in a few minutes. Oh my God, given some great advice in the chat about how to get in with a production company and do pro drone work. Man, oh my God, I don't know if you've already done this video, and I apologize if you made it and I just missed it because there's a lot of videos out there that I haven't watched. But if you were to make a video just talking about, maybe even a cool video would be for you to take somebody like Bubby, who is just sort of getting into the professional drone world, and just do a little Q&A mentor session talking to him about how to get into pro drone work. I bet people would watch the shit out of that, learning about, how to make connections in the industry, what the experience on the set is like, and so on. Like, I know you probably got a lot going on in your life, but that would be a cool video. So. Can I make a Discord server? Asks Norse Squad. Okay. I did. Here it is. It has 3,655 members. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Hey, 843 of you have not been seen in 30 days. Why not? Why not? No, I'm not going to do it. Oh. I love the word based. What does the word based mean? What does it mean? Oh, that's actually a really accurate. That's a really accurate definition. A word used when you agree with something. I thought it was going to be like when somebody is right and insightful, but it just means when you agree with something. That's actually what it means. Because that's what I was going to say. People are like, so-and-so is so based. He's based. Like, what is it? That just means you agree with him. Okay, that's actually correct. How's the tea, James? I don't have any drink today, James. I'm going to make it through the stream without tea, though. Todd Tube, thank you for a $5 super chat. How do I fix no gyro ACC found? Todd Tube, you likely... I'm gonna show you how to make that happen, dude. Watch this. Hang on one second. Oh, there we go. So, check this out. How can I make no gyro ACC found happen? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect to this flight controller, and I'm going to make a note that the target is F722 dual. Okay? Now, watch this. If I go to the CLI and I type defaults, it's going to come back any minute now. I don't know why this is. There we go. And it's going to... Oh, no. I gotta actually reflash it. Okay, hang on. I was hoping I wouldn't have to actually reflash it, but I do. Can we get into DFU mode, please? EXF722 dual. Let's just flash the right firmware. Okay. Load. Flash. 1 second. So it's going to flash. What did you do on your live stream? I flashed a flight controller while we all sat here and watched. Really? Yeah. And they just loved it. They ate it up. They talked about tacos. Yep, they talked about tacos the whole time. I thought you could force this to happen just by defaulting the flight controller, but I guess not. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. Okay. So after flashing, then it reboots. Come on. Son of a... And then it asks you, you've all seen this before, do you want to apply custom defaults? If you hit cancel, boom, now you're going to have no gyro, right? Yeah, no gyro ACC found. And the reason for that is that apply custom defaults that I said no to is what, there's a whole bunch of other stuff you have to do to finish the configuration of the flight controller, including telling it how to find its gyro in ACC. So I think if I reconnect, it'll ask me again. Let's see. Apply custom defaults. Boom. Now everything's fine. So if you don't apply custom defaults, boom, then you're going to have it. The other thing is this. If you flash the wrong firmware, you'll get no gyro ACC found. Okay? So that's the answer. Madstech got some more information about this latency chart, saying that the lens, the Fresnel lens in the goggles was affecting the results. That's interesting. But more fundamentally, what was the result? Do I still need to be freaked out? Scout HD. Oh, it brought the SharkBite module down. What? I want to hear more about this. He's going to talk about it on his stream. Madstech, feel free to post a link. Scout HD with lens removed. How was the lens increasing the latency? Was it just changing the responsiveness of the sensor? It's still, DJI is holding its own, at least at its best. Phantom FPV, good to see you, my friend. Good to see you again in the chat. I got your hat. Phantom sent me a hat. I don't have it handy, or I'd put it on, but thank you for the hat, man. How do I fix no data flash chip found? Asks Ramil Roberson. Ramil, no data flash chip found probably just means your flight controller doesn't have one. Not all flight controllers do. Data flash is only used for black box logging, so it's not relevant. Either your flight controller has one or it doesn't. If it doesn't, it doesn't. There's nothing you do about it. To get a data flash chip. Justin Rice, thank you for a $5 super chat. My SPC maker BAT78 was flying fine, then it said RX loss and dropped. Now it won't stop constantly beeping. The receiver LED turns on, but no response. Well, the best case scenario for you, Justin, is that your receiver has crapped out. Now, what receiver is in the SPC maker BAT78? Drone Camps is impressed with it. SPC maker BAT78. What receiver does it come with? That's the question. Does it have a built-in receiver? Like, can I buy it? How do I buy it? Add to cart. Voltage model. So it seems like it has external receiver. So there could be wiring. What I would want to do is I would want to look at the receiver and see if the binding light on the receiver indicates that it's bound. That's the bottom line. If it's not bound, then you have a problem between your controller and your receiver. If it is bound, then you have a problem between the receiver and the flight controller, like a wiring problem. Worst case scenario is your flight controller has crapped out. And that would be the worst case scenario. Edgar Poe has an interesting question. I hope that UAV Tech is still here to weigh in, because he is the guy who would be the most knowledgeable about this. Edgar Poe says, I'm tuning PD balance. My motors spin up to 100% when I throttle up, but during a snap move, black box shows the motors maxing only at 50%, so it's overdamped, even with high P term. Any idea? PID sum limit is 1,000. are you sure that it's overdamped? If you look at the step response, does the step response show that it's overdamped? I mean, maybe the motors are spinning to 50% because that's all the PID loop needs to get the system to respond. That would be my first question, Edgar Poe. Do you see how I've just deflected? I haven't really answered his question. I mean, I've suggested something else for him to do, but now I get credit for answering the question without actually answering it. UAV Tech says, turn on air mode. It's a good thought. Thank you, Sloopy FPV, for a 50-pound super chat. He says, please don't read his super chat, but for 50 pounds, I got to call it out at least. Z Carazales says, what about the ESC endpoints? Nope. ESC endpoints and calibration don't matter when you're using D-Shot, which obviously you are. Those don't do anything. Edgar Poe says it doesn't even reach the one line. Dang, that's not at all. UAV Tech says if the max motor spin up is only 50%, that's a sign that air mode is off. Edgar Poe, is air mode on or off? Womb FPV says, can I have angle mode only on the roll axis? Womb, there is a Emu Flight and Silverware. Both have a racing mode where, is it the pitch axis is angle, but the roll axis is, or the other way around? I think that's the Emu Flight race mode. Betaflight doesn't have that. Juraj Mitosinka says, why does my Hoda D6 Pro charge lithium ions only up to 4.15? Juraj, there are some lithium ion cells out there that are only rated for 4.15, but most 18650 lithium ion cells that we see today are rated to 4.2, and you can just charge them as lipos. Durzo FPV, thank you for a $5 super chat. I hope GNB fixes their latest battery issue of having DOA cells in their micro packs, especially their 380 HV 6S bats for the 250. Oh, that's bad. I ordered some of those. I hope mine don't have dead cells. Yeah, GNB usually makes very good batteries, so if they're having issues like that, that would suck. Coelho FPV, thanks for a $10 super chat for my labor. He's going to check my math. I hope it checked out. How do you mount a Tramp Nano VTX to the 20x20 board that it comes with? I don't know. Let's look. Maybe we can get a picture. What board does it come with? Does it come with like a cradle, huh? I assume it solders on, doesn't it? I assume it solders on. Oh my God. Can I get rid of these stupid flies? Tramp Nano. Race day quads. I mean, it's not really clear from the picture, but usually they solder on. I'm trying to find a better picture of how it solders on. Yeah, so here's the thing. I don't see any solder pads though. Hello, load the image, please. Huh. Anybody weigh in here on how this is mounted? Okay. I can't find a definitive answer. How do you say Girage, Archimedes? Doing my best here. I'm doing my best. Nuovo, thank you for €5. My 16 meg data flash chip only holds one flight. Is it normal? Yes. You are logging at too high of a rate. You got to log like at 2K or 1K or less. If you're doing PID tuning or filter tuning, 1K is the least you should go. If you're just trying to get stick overlay or basic troubleshooting information, you go down to 500 hertz. There's no reason to log at more than 2K. Nuovo says, arming and immediately disarming fills the whole flash. I see. Here's the problem, Nuovo. Data flash, you have to manually erase it. I think you're not erasing it. So you have to manually go in and hit the erase data flash button. It does not erase itself, and it doesn't do like a FIFO queue. Okay? You got to manually erase it, and then you should get one flight, and then you got to manually erase it again. That's why it's always full. That's how I enter. Oh, whoops, I forgot we were still looking at this page. Sorry about that. Okay. UAV Tech says that Edgar Poe, it was air mode. He needed to turn air mode on. Was that it? Hang on. iTerm relax. Let me looking back to see what the answer was. I want to know. Yeah, it looks like it was air mode. Well done. I'll try to keep that in mind, UAV Tech. Why wouldn't they go to full? It's because is it because he had the throttle all the way down? That's got to be it. Do you need the app to clear black box flash? Brandon Beans. Brandon, I'm 99% sure there's an OSD menu that erases flash. Yeah, no, Nuovo, that's what I'm saying. He's logging at 2K. He erased flash. He got one flight. That's about right. He erased arm. Just I'm gonna guess you didn't erase. That's my guess. There's no reason why it should fill up with just one little arm disarm. I'm gonna guess you didn't finish erasing it. Just a guess. I see. So for those of you who are trying to figure out how to mount the Tramp Nano, I would think that was a super chat. This strip right here is designed to be soldered. There's got to be a strip on the back side of the Nano to solder down. And then that gives you these pads right here. And maybe the center one? I don't know. Is that ground? Yeah, okay. Okay, I see. So the center pin here is ground, and that solders to this pad here. That has to be how it works. And then there's a strip on the back side of the Nano that you solder here, and that's how you solder it and connect it to the cradle. Thank you for finding that picture at PV Gizmo. There's also an aux mode that can erase the flash. So if you're in the field and you don't have access to the OSD, there's an aux mode that can erase flash as well. Paul George says, I soldered the back and I soldered the ground wire through the VTX and through the tab that lines up. It seems to be dead shorted. Smoke stopper is bright. Well, Paul, I would desolder it and I would, just test with a multimeter to see where I went wrong. You might have accidentally bridged something, perhaps. I don't know for sure. I mean, it's powered from 5 volts is the thing. Since it's powered from 5 volts, I don't know how it could light your smoke stopper. That's the thing. Because if it was short-circuiting the 5-volt regulator, the 5-volt regulator would shut down, but that probably wouldn't cause your smoke stopper to light. A shorted 5-volt regulator will cause things not to power up, but I don't think it'll trip the smoke stopper. Something else is up. But, I mean, long story short, disconnect it. If that fixes the smoke stopper, then you've identified the problem. Speedy Turtle, good to see you here at the end. Nice to see you coming out. We do have about 15, maybe 10, 12 more minutes left in the stream. Aaron Ciotti is going to be streaming at 3 p.m., so he's going to start posting the link to his live stream, which will be coming up after me. Does that make me the opening act? Oh. He's going to be coming up at 3 p.m. He's going to post the link if you want to keep enjoying your Sunday afternoon or evening, depending on where in the world you are, or morning, or middle of the night, or tomorrow. He'll post the link, and you guys can check that out after you're done here. In the meantime, we'll take some more questions. Mads Tech has posted another update on his blog. Can't wait. Can't wait to find out more. I know it sucks to be in the hot seat, man. It sucks to be in the hot seat about this stuff. I know the feeling where you're frantically making updated posts, trying to get things straight, and then you're like, should I not have made the first video? Oh no! How do I set the record straight? Let's see what Mads Tech says. I've rerun every test and will later today post a video showing analog, shark bite. As I've been questioned across the board. Welcome to the hot seat, man. It means you're doing important work. Just make sure your ducks are in a row and everything will be okay. You're going to get some flack when you do important work and advance the state of knowledge in the world. Sometimes people will be mad at you. Just make sure your ducks are in a row and stick by your guns, assuming that you're right. If you're wrong, that sucks. Some won't like what the data shows. I can only show you what the numbers say. Yep. The analog results are where I would expect them to be, about 15, 16 milliseconds. I agree. Double tested the SharkBite system, also done the Scout again without the lens, and it has quite an impact. Optics play a part as we are measuring glass to glass, and getting closer to the screen changes things. I would guess that this is slowing down how fast the sensor rises, but that it might not literally increase the latency of the human eyeball. I don't know. Is the human eyeball just a sensor? DJI system looks closer, faster on the bench. That's the best it will ever be. Exactly. That's the thing. I wonder if you could redo the test. Oh, isn't that what you want to hear? Hey, why don't you redo the test? It doesn't cost me any time or effort to suggest that you do more work. Just to make me happy, I probably won't even watch your video. Here's a suggestion. Doesn't that feel so good? Mads, what if you were to use a cord to separate the goggles from the VTX, put the goggles outside of your house so there's some latency and breakup, and use only 25 milliwatts, right? And then you still get a valid result, glass to glass, but you'll have some latency and it'll show a little bit more realistic. Yeah, just put that on your to-do list. Anyway. Analog versus SharkBite test results the same as the goggles and setup. It's simply changed from analog to digital. The only difference is the module and HDMI. Yep. This is, I feel right here, I feel it so hard in my soul that this is because someone is yelling at you in your comments in your inbox, and you are committed to putting out accurate information and complete information, and other people don't like what you're saying and they're yelling at you. This is how I interpret this. That you need to reinforce the caveats so that everybody knows you're covering all your bases. I'm sorry that the internet is shitty. Sometimes is the takeaway. As we users can't really detect that, can't we? Can't we? This is enough, though, man. In my humble opinion, you've covered your bases. Stand by your test methodology. Stand by your results. And you don't need to make excuses or apologies for them. There are people who aren't going to like what you're saying, and they're going to yell at you and complain. I sense that in those paragraphs. I've been there. Some of the times that I've been there, I've been wrong, and I've had to backpedal. Some of the times I've been there, I've been right. And I know the desire to put out perfect, uncontrovertible information that doesn't misrepresent anything, and to acknowledge the objections to your tests, and to hopefully that if you can say it just right, everyone will calm down and be happy and acknowledge that you did good work. That will never happen on the internet. All you can do is do good work, put the results out there, and then not pay too much attention to the people who are going to be pissed off at you no matter what. That's what I would say. Anyway. Yep. Don't let it consume you. I mean, there's a difference. Sometimes I put out test results and somebody says, well, what about this? And I go, oh, that is a good question. And I'm so excited that I rush to get the new results out. And sometimes I put out test results and people go, well, what about this? And I go, oh, crap. Am I wrong? Are they going to think I'm dumb? Are they going to think I effed up? And then I rush to cover my butt. Don't ever do that. Don't ever come at that situation from a position of fear and insecurity. Hey, Joshua, play this back for yourself at the future. Because here's what happens. It puts you on your back foot and you make mistakes because you're operating from that attitude of fear and insecurity. If you effed up, own it. But there's no reason to rush from a position of fear and insecurity to announce that you effed up. Stop. It can all wait for 24 more hours while you catch your breath and decide what to do. And almost every time when I have responded to a situation, whether it's interpersonal drama or whether it's test results that may or may not be right, that people don't like, almost every time when I have responded from that position of fear and insecurity and agitation, sorry about that, it's been a mistake. And the right thing to do would have been to just stop and wait and see where I felt about it tomorrow. Anyway, little advice, Mads Tech, from me to you as a YouTuber and a public person. So, because I feel like you might be there a little bit. I don't know. I'm not trying to read your mind with this whole thing. Good work, man. Yeah, Morton Upshot. Own your errors. But just because the internet has their pitchforks and their torches out doesn't mean you made an error. And if your response to the pitchforks and torches is to freak out, you will do the wrong thing. You'll do the wrong thing. Probably. And if it is the right thing to do, if the right thing to do is go, I effed up, guys, then you can do that tomorrow. No one is literally at your doorstep with torches and pitchforks. You could probably do it tomorrow. And maybe you'll decide it wasn't a good idea. I've been there. José Cloete. I hope I've said your name right. 35 South African Rand. When I upload videos from DJI Air Unit to YouTube, the quality looks bad. Rescale. It's because YouTube has crap bitrate for 720p video. Rescale the video in a video editor to 1080p or even 4K, and it'll look better. Golden FPV, thanks for a $2 super chat. 10-pin ESC to 8-pin flight controller, 2 extra wires. Well, what you should do with those 2 extra wires depends on what the wires are. Probably, if the wires are not in the flight controller plug, then the flight controller doesn't use those wires. So Golden FPV, the actual answer depends on what the wires are. Probably you don't use those wires. Sunshine FF says in the Discord, says science. If you don't make mistakes, you're doing it wrong. If you don't correct your mistakes, you're doing it really wrong. And if you can't accept that you're mistaken, you're not doing it all. But I would add one thing to that. Just because the internet is freaking out doesn't mean you did anything wrong. There's two things. There's two situations. One is that you post something and people freak out and you go, oh shit, they're right. I effed up. Oh, this is going to hurt. And at that point, I mean, the sooner you get out there and you say, I effed up, guys, you know, the better. I mean, but the other one is that you post something and people get mad and you go, oh, they're misunderstanding. No, I have to clarify the record. I have to correct all the ways in which they don't understand what really happened and they're wrong and I'm right. It's probably a waste of time. Maybe not, but it probably is. Anyway. All right, guys. We're wrapping up. We're 1 minute left until Ciati starts streaming. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming out for the live stream. I will be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And we'll do some more. And throughout the week. I hope you guys had a great stream. I enjoyed being here with you. Thanks to everybody who left super chats. Thanks to everybody who left regular chats. And thanks to all my patrons in the Discord, as always. Ciati, have a great stream. Mads Tech, have a great stream tonight, my man. Chin up. Chin up. Take it easy, everybody.